Hey, what's up, YouTube fans? So, what I wanted to talk about in this video is something I was thinking about recently is another big difference, right? Between intelligent design as we observe it to occur, right, versus the type of intelligent design promoted by creationists, right? Because I've talked about in videos in the past is how, creationists will oftentimes believe that the intelligent designer of life doesn't have a brain or sensory organs or arms or fingers and isn't at all complex. And yet everything that they use as an example of intelligent design, whether it be a watch or a mouse trap or whatever, all of these machines were made by humans, right? And humans rely on our brains, sensory organs, arms, and fingers to intelligently design things. Those body parts are fundamental to our skillfulness in intelligently designing things, right? And if God does have those body parts, then it will be implausible that he himself would exist without a cause, right? And without an explanation of his own, right? That's what I've talked about on a lot of videos. But then, this is something I was thinking about recently, that this is another big difference between intelligent design as we observe it, right, versus intelligent design as creationists promote it, is that they will tend to believe that God knows everything, right? Every single particle in the universe, he knows about it, right? Which goes way beyond the scope of what a human brain and sensory organs will be able to ever figure out about. And they believe that he always did know everything, right? So that's a really big difference, because they don't believe that he ever learned any of the things he knows. He didn't go through a process of learning. They believe that he just always did know it, right? Ever since the beginning of time, right? And yet for us humans, it's a complex process. We're not just born knowing everything we know. We have to learn it, right? And part of how we do that is that we are taught things by other people, right? So it helps them that there's billions of us, right? Not just a single individual on their own. And then also we have technology that helps us in being able to learn more things, such as telescopes, microscopes, things like that. And, all of the information that we've learned through science, we've gotten to the point of where we are now, knowing all of the things that we know, us humans, through, people dedicating their lives towards, painstaking research, hour after hour, day after day, right? Experimenting, gradually collecting the information we have, right? And it took billions of us collectively, thousands of years to get to where we are at the point we are now with all that we know. And we're still nowhere near knowing everything, right? And so, in the case of God, even in the case of them that say that God, even in the case of them that say that God has a brain and sensory organs, what really is the point, though, if he already knew everything always anyways, so we never had to learn anything, right? Then there wouldn't really be a point of brain and sensory organs, right? But then how does that work, right? And also, this what else? So they would tend to believe that the mind does not come from the brain, right? That the mind, the consciousness, does not come from matter, but rather that it comes from a soul which controls the body, right? And so intelligence, which is really the key thing that they focus on, they don't really focus on any physical characteristics, they mainly focus on intelligence. But they believe that that comes from an immaterial supernatural thing, right? And so they don't have a clear idea of what, if anything, would physically exist that, is involved with giving rise to these things. And everything that they believe was involved, they don't have an explanation for why that thing itself will be set up so perfectly. And they don't have an explanation for how any of it works, right? And so the more you peel it apart and really ask these types of questions, the more it becomes clear that, this is really just a superstitious idea, right? It's not, it's not something backed experimentally. It's not something that can be explained logically. It's not a legitimate explanation, right? All it is a supernatural, superstitious idea, right? It's not at all credible as an explanation. And so that's really why I am not at all that's a big part of why I'm not at all open-minded towards their viewpoint. And so, if someone, let's say if someone were to say, which you don't really typically hear anyone saying, but let's say if someone were to say that they believed that aliens that themselves came about evolutionarily, that they then came and designed life on Earth, that would be a lot more reasonable to me, right? I still wouldn't agree with that, but that would make a lot more sense. But that's not really what most creationists are promoting. They're promoting a superstitious type of idea, right? And so it's totally it's not at all legitimate as an explanation, right? It doesn't even tell us how it happened, because it's just involving things they can't explain nor show that it's possible, right? All right, that's all for now. See you guys.